afternoon and welcome to the Saturday Sports Special. I'm Michael Bascom, your host, and just sorry for this slight delay in our start, but it's due to a little technical problem we have on the other end. But as indicated, our program this weekend is on the South City Rising Stars Track Club. I hope I got it right. Yeah, South City Stars. Rising, I will get it correctly, But what I want to say is it's a fairly new track club, new in the context of the traditional and the status quo. But what is interesting about this club, which is they call themselves the Rising Stars Club, South City, right, is that it has produced some, outstanding athletes and young athletes in particular over the past few years. New talents and, some we have been hearing about of recent, Nathaniel Mark, for example. There's Gamali Felix. There's also Rico Moultrie, who has been doing well, representing the Bahamas now. And I also heard of Tyrone, I think is a long distance runner. And then there is also the new sensation, the new kid on the block, only 13 years old, and she has been doing some phenomenal times. The problem is that many times we have these sort of talents, and then they slip through. We don't hear much about them after a few years and things like that. But there is a hope that with this new crop of talents that there is something in the horizon for Grenada, and there's hope. I'm saying let's hope. So even though we're having some problems, I have been able to make contact with the man behind the Rising Stars Club. His name is Cuffie, the coach and one of the founders of the club. And I want to say good afternoon to Lee. Lee will be joining us remotely. We'll be hearing his voice and hoping that probably during the broadcast we'll be able to get Lee on, as we hoping to. But good afternoon to Lee. Lee, are you hearing me?
Yes, good afternoon to you, Mr. Michael Bascom. And I must start by saying I feel quite honored to be hosted at your prestigious program, which gives me the opportunity to express views and some of our concerns as it relates to track and field in Grenada, and to an extent, the South City Rising Stars, which you would have expressed, has been doing some great things with track and field is concerned, consistently producing quality athletes who went on to represent the country, and to an extent, scholarships which have been awarded to various countries. So I want to say thank you for having me. I'll take this time to sensitize the public, on such matters.
Okay. But before we really continue, I wanted to give the viewers an idea of who, I mentioned about a 13-year-old, and I want us at some point in time to talk about her. But give us an idea of some of the other people who are involved in the Rising Star Club, including coaches and others, as well as the athletes themselves.
All right, great. Well, currently, I function as the sole coach. However, prior to that, I had two functional coaches dating back to like 2013, 2014, 2015, within that range, 2016, they're about, in the name of Nicholas Benjamin and Kevin James. Now, they had different responsibility. I function as the head coach and the overall coach, whereas they did the exploits in the field events and the jumps respectively. So we had more like a more organized, I won't say more organized, but we lend our services to a wider capacity due to the fact that we had more coaches involved. Now I only function within the capacity of the track, that is the sprints and the long distance. So we would have lost out on that opportunity because they no longer function actively at the moment. They're wrong, but they don't function actively. as it relates to the administrative aspect, I have one gentleman that plays a very key role where that is concerned by the name of Mike Batiste. Who's the one that will get a lot of the information, a liaison man sort of, with like coaches from the various countries, America, the US, wherever the opportunity presents itself. He liaises with them. We try to make the linkages, do the necessary documentation, and create the avenue more or less for the athletes to get the scholarship. In recent time, we had people like Sweet Tradition, who would have assist the club a bit, in terms of maybe doing the travels and stuff like that. We got a little assistance here and there. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and some of the that's the administrative aspect of it. But I want to hear some of the names of some of those athletes themselves. I mentioned just a few, certain in the introduction, but I'm certain there's so many other athletes that are involved in the club.
Yes, definitely. We have the sensational Cissy Charles, right? Cissy Charles, basically, she works along with Mr. Green, mostly. However, about 40% of our program, I assist her with it while on our journey at the time, Cissy, right? So she's another sensation who did extremely well in the 400 meter over the years. We had the exploits of people like Romeo Bastardo, who fall off the subject, unfortunately, but was a rising sensation in the distant field a few years back.
Any explanation as to why Romeo fell off? I mean, he was great talent.
Very great talent. Well, I would like to say it could have been an issue of maybe proper guidance, the support. You as a coach, you will do what you need to do, but sometimes you need better support, from other people that surround them. And some way along the line, I felt that you would have lost track. Somehow the motivation didn't kept up for whatever reason. I don't have all the answers, but I'm thinking those are some of the core reasons as to why I think he would have been out of the socket, Yeah.
Who are the other athletes?
Right. So we have people like Shaquem Williams, who some years back would have won the half marathon run. He did some great things there. We have a young sensation in the name of Gordon Hazard. He's only 9 or 10 years, and he's doing great things in the distance field as well, in the 800. So that's another one. We have Shanti Mitchell. She's a good jumper, represented Grenada at the Character Games. Somehow we're trying to organize a scholarship for her at the moment. She's a good triple jumper and long jumper. Right. We have also Gamali Felix. That's the brother of Gamali Felix, the brother of Gamali Felix, who is one of our sensational 400 meter runner in the country currently. He too is actually on the verge of actually organizing a scholarship in the United States come this year. So these just to mention a few. We have people like Serena Williams. We have Amaya Sylvester, Daneshka Hosford. Those are some young talents, that's coming up.
Did you say Serena Williams?
Serena, yes. Not Serena Williams like the tennis player, but there's a Serena Williams in the club that is pretty good at the sprinting too as well. So those are some of the young exploits. We have the Akel Francis, who's been dominating the sprints over the past few years. We have Saya Cooper, just to name a few. There are quite a few others. I would say the club is wide-based, and we practically doing our best to get them up to standard, trying to keep them motivated despite the challenges we're facing out there. Yeah, just to name a few. There may be a couple others I left over. Those are the main ones that more or less organize themselves. We have Ken Thomas who trains, but he functions as a teacher at the St. Dominic RC, part of the administrative group too as well. 2 years back, we represented UE in the campus game. So it's good to have people like him around, to show some sort of motivation to the younger ones. Just his presence alone is very good. So that's what we work with currently.
Okay, and you also spoke about Tyrone Jacob, right?
Yes, Tyrone Jacob, a very good sensation. He's very determined, very hardworking, very dedicated. He had dominated the distance, the cross country, the secondary school cross country for 2 years consecutively, winning every cross country run and going on to the nationals, winning. That same year, he moved into Trinidad, where he basically finished, I think, was 10th in the 10th run at the Caribbean Championship, and he was the first person in his category, right? The first person in his category. He's currently training at the moment in the hope of a scholarship. We're hoping to work with something for him. But in the meantime, we're just trying to keep them motivated in whatever way we can, because when at a certain time span, things don't really work out for them, they tend to fall by the wayside. But we're really trying to hope that we can, if things doesn't work out externally for them, we are hoping that some sort of organization or some sort of structure can be organized internally or locally. So rather than losing these athletes, right, we can have a means or some sort of means of retaining them and keeping them longer in the sport.
Okay. While you're on that, probably we can look at some of the individual athletes themselves. You just spoke about Tyrone Jacob there. There's another one, but we haven't heard much about him in recent times, and his name is Nathaniel Mark. I think he goes by the name of Butters, I think is his his AKA. What is the latest on Nathaniel Mark? Another one from the club.
Okay, right. Well, yes, Nathaniel Mark would have been one of the greatest prospects in terms of sprinting, as it relates to the South City Rising Star, also past student of the Grenada Boys Secondary School. And also, he would have been the very first person to go sub 10.6, that is electronic timing, as a Grenadian sprinter in recent times, right? So that was one of the greatest feats, and one of his greatest achievements. Now, Nathaniel Mark came into the club as a very average athlete, full technique, weak, a lot of work has been done, put into him, all emphasis has been placed into him to get him up to the current level in which he is currently. Now, he went on to winning national titles at the national championships. He would have been 1 year won the 100 meter and 200 meter at the national championship. Now, he has been plagued with some injuries, scoliosis. He had this problem in his back, and it had hindered his progression to some extent at one point in time. However, we did some evaluation, we got the necessary care, and he got under control. Now, upon this, we decided to go to the Hampton Games a year with Nathaniel, and just a few of us, and he was able to capture the goal. I think that's one of the video I sent you there in Trinidad. He got a gold medal into the finals at under 18 levels at the Trinidad Hamptons International Games. So that was one of the first major achievements for the club, and also one of the first major achievements for Nathaniel Mark. So he moved on to this. He was able to come back and represent Grenada at the 2016 Character Games, where he did a very special third leg that brought back Grenada into the light, that gave them the bronze medal that year at the Character Games, only behind the Team Jamaica and Bahamas at that time, setting a national under 18 record. Now, upon this, he did some very good stuff at the Whitsuntide Games. He acquired a personal best in the 200 at that point in time at 21.43. And a personal best of 10.58 over the 100 meter. Now, upon this, his talent was started, and he was given an opportunity, a scholarship to the Central Arizona College. That's 2 years ago. He recently completed the 2-year course However, his performance wasn't as expected, but as you know, as it relates to the coronavirus, some schools might have been a little displaced in terms of the athletes being managed and whatnot. So he didn't get what he was actually looking for. However, currently he's here. There are other opportunities that he can explore in terms of moving on to a bigger school. And as it stands, we'll see how I will see, and the people around me will see how we can take him back up to speed where he should be, so he can be at a very good point as it relates to acquiring a scholarship to a 4-year school.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that, because I know it has been a challenging period for the last year and a half for athletes, especially those from the junior colleges. And, Nathaniel is one who probably fell victim to that in terms of, having the opportunity, opportunities, I should say, because, the first part of the pandemic, remember the first period of the pandemic, activities was basically limited, right? But speaking about him at the Hampton, I think we do have some video of him. Let's get a look at Nathaniel it was Hampton when 2019?
I think it was 2016 or 17.
Okay, all right, so a few years back. Let's get
To be done, everything goes.
Okay, so in that previous one, actually, what we saw was Nathaniel Mark, as you were referring to. He was at the time one of the fastest sprinters in Grenada, and as you said, injury, and then the COVID comes around, and the lack of opportunities to compete, and and all these other factors. But glad to know that he is back in Grenada, and he's also training, I assume, with the club. And things will. We'll get back to some of the athletes in a moment, but let's look a bit on the Rising Stars Club. When it was formed, it's important, and give me an idea of the structure, because it's all well and good to be the founder, to be the person behind it, to have some people around, but then if there isn't a proper structure, there could be problems. And I'm one who's speaking from some level of experience in terms of that. But tell me about it, Lee, about when it was formed and the whole structure of Rising Star Club.
Okay, right. So let me comment on this. Well, we get together as a group of athletes who saw at the point in time that something had to be done in terms of the whole track business as it relates to the Grenada Boys Secondary School. So that's one of the schools I've been affiliated with. I compete for them and whatnot and stuff. So we found a group of guys and start training them. So that happened from back 2012 all the way up to probably 2014. But we more or less became an organized track club. And not fully organized, but more organized track club back in 2014. Right, 2014. That's when we actually pulled together. We had a couple members, and so we had a coaching staff. We had someone that deals with one person that deals with the administrative aspect. But as it stands, I'll be frank with you and be honest. In terms of structure, and as you know, anything without proper structure, it is rampant for disaster if it's not been looked at carefully. And I think that is one thing in which we more or less need to improve on at the moment, because in terms of having a a complete board where you have a group of organized and competent individuals who can relate certain responsibility to. That is like you may have like a president, a vice president, a treasurer. You're talking about a PRO and one with admin. We don't have that depth as yet. However, we have called many meetings, right? And we are in the finalized stage of actually grouping together what you would call a proper structured club, whereby you can see what, if you need to get this done, you can direct this to that person or what the case is. So you're more or less more organized. Yeah, so as it relates to that, we basically on the road of doing it, but we're not quite there as yet.
Okay, so there is a hope that the Rising Star Club, track club, I should say, should be formally organized and operating with a proper structure before the end of 2021. Is that a possibility?
That is a distinct possibility. And with the new upcoming athletes who's basically making international strides and waves, it will only make sense. It will only get the benefit of the people that surround the group as well as the athletes and stuff like that. It will only be in our own benefit to have something of that magnitude properly supported and having a proper structure, as you say. So I would say it's just about ideal time that 2021, when coming 2021, the South City Riders Track Club will be fully equipped, properly organized with structure is that son. End of 2021, sorry.
Okay, end of 2021. Okay, we continue with some of our athletes again. Gamali Felix.
Right, well, Gamali Felix, a very, very good, very good athlete. Very talented athlete. He's multi-talented. Now, Gamali Felix basically came into the system as a jumper, right? At that point in time, he was trained as his drums coach was actually Kevin James, right? So that was his first exploit. Because we more or less like merged what we did. We know that he had a great ability to jump, but I also looked at him and we had dialogue with James at that point in time. I said, Felix could be a very, very good 400-meter runner. I'm looking at how his knees comes up, his structure, his lean. And those are some of the stuff you look at, very conservative in terms of the stride and everything. So you look at these things, the pattern, what an athlete can potentially do in a particular event. So we decided to experiment with we merged and we decided to experiment and eventually that's what it came out to be. But Gamali, if you don't know, actually was the silver medalist at the Caribbean Games in the triple jump for Grenada 2016, right? So after that, well, Mr. James had moved on, so I took him over fully, where we decided to explore the 400 meter. And as it stands, it would have been one of the best decisions he would have made in his life. Now, no one knows what the future really holds, but as I say, once there is a will, there's what they say, once there is a will, or once there is a will, there is a way, right? So I examined his potential and we put it to work. And that year we did a lot of solid and quality work, and I saw his time shifted from like low 49s and went into the 47 range. So he left Grenada to the Boston Community College in Kansas, running mid 47s, at that point in time, which would have been great strides. And so far, Gamali has lived up to his legacy and what is expected of him by honoring himself a title that no other Grenadian had ever earned, which is the NJCAA National 400-meter Indo champion in a time of 46.63, right? Now, when I looked at the preliminaries, I said, no, Gamali have a chance to medal. When I see he pull it out and win, I say, yes, he more or less exemplify what we call the no room for softness, no room for softness attitude. Because that's what we have a saying, that's one of our club motto. There's no room for softness. Whatever you do, you go hard. And he further went down to lower this time with a 46-20, right? And even better, I think he would have anchored his bottom college team to a win. In the time, he would have split it the fastest time, I believe, 45.60. So he has a lot out there for him. I'm quite proud of his achievement. He's back here. He recently expressed to me that he'll be going to the Pan Am Games to Colombia. That's December. There is a possibility too that I could be accompanying to that games. It all depends, but you know what is going on along the world with the vaccine and all the regulations and everything. So there's a lot of food for thought. But when that's all come, we're gonna jump it. But
okay.
Gamali, I must say, is one of our proud members coming from the club, and would have been the first member of the club to more or less say put the South City Rising Stars, on the international circuit. He's one of the first members to put us on the international circuit. Yeah.
All right, just hold a minute. Let me see if I can get something with Gamali there. So that was actually Gamali Felix in the 400 meters competing in the United States. Well, Lee, back to you now, and talking about Gamali Felix, there is also one by the name of Zimali Felix, his brother. I think you mentioned his name earlier.
Yes, Zimali. One of the brightest prospects, most talented, I would say, gifted 400-meter runner, probably in Grenada. Now, there's something interesting about Zimali Felix. When he started, I recall Kevin. He said, he started doing jump, and Kevin was like, I find this guy, I don't know what to do with him, I don't find him making strides, I say, watch. I look at him again to examine, I say, no, 400 meter, look at his belt as well again. I look at that and I say the 400, so I say hand him over. And we start walking. The very first time he ran, he did probably about 55 seconds, nothing too significant. But he's keep walking. And as he keeps walking, his confidence starts growing more. His coordination started improving, his strength started improving. And then the next season, he came out and he did like 50 points, something along the line. And he was one of, the most improved athletes in Grenada at that point in time, looking at times. So we decided to give him a try. I went to the Trinidad National Champs, senior champs, but they were all junior athletes. But we went down there, gave him a try. He did the 400 meter down there, in which he did that year 50 point something. He didn't make the finals, he finished fourth in his heat. But they went on to do the 4x1 together, a combined team, which we had a guy named Robert Stapleton from St. Vincent, and we did use Kyle Gibson from the track blazers, and we made a combined team with Nathaniel Mark along with St. Felix, and they were able to get the bronze medal at the senior champs in Trinidad, right? Now he came back, and he's been very, very motivated, and we started that year, and we said, yes, at the end of the season, I'm going to get you to probably be one of the best 400-meter runners in the country at your level. And it did happen. He went into the Whitsun Time Games that year with the third fastest qualifying time. He didn't even win his heat. He ran, I think, like 48.9 in the heats and went into the finals, and he was able to pull out the win amongst people who they saw seemingly was the favorite, including one of the great athletes from St. Vincent, and did that in a personal best at that point in time of 48.62 seconds. Now, this year, he had a little problem with his tendons, so he had only competed in one meet, which he won. He did a 48 something. I think somewhere like 48.3, somewhere within that range, and that was it for the season. But he is here with his brother is here. They're doing what they can do, because I told you there's a possibility of him getting a scholarship to the US. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And in fact, folks, if you're looking on screen, it's actually the Felix brothers, Gamali and his brother Timali, in photo there with Lee Cuffie, their coach. We continue again, some more athletes. This time, I want us to speak on one by the name of Rico Moultrie.
Yes, very, very interesting individual there. But Rico Moultrie is a past student of the Westmoreland. I give kudos to his very first coach, who would have taken to some projects there. Coach, I don't remember the individual name, but he did some work with him, initially. Then he joined the club, and he noticed good things going on in the club. The athletes welcome his presence. He feels as home. He feels like family, And as I say, for anyone to strive in any particular environment, it is important that you make them comfortable. And I think that is one of the things with our club. Most of the athletes around is they're very comfortable. So he came over, and he did some very, very good things. Winning at the Intercol Championships, at the National Championship, he had some very, very good times. Now, living here, I think he left with a personal best of 21.6 and somewhat like 10.6 something over the 100 meter. Now, he had represented Grenada at the Character Games. He actually moved the world junior standards at one point in time in the 100 meter. However, he wasn't given the opportunity for whatever reason. Now, as time passed along, I noted that he has links to the Bahamas. I think his father lives in the Bahamas. And over a period of time, I think he would have felt that, the system, or probably the organizations here, haven't really created the avenues to foster his talent and his ability, right? So he thought that his parents, and I can't blame them, would have believed that the Bahamas would have been one of the best places to enhance such unique talent. Now, that would have played out very well for him, in that he got the opportunity to represent Bahamas at the Character Games that year, at the under-20 level, and he made some significant strides, where he was fourth in the finals at the Character Games in both the 100 meter and the 200 meter. Now, he had acquired a personal best at 10.41 seconds at the 100 meter and 20 points, I want to believe, is it 20.98 or 20.8 thereabouts in the 200 meter. These are very significant times for under 20, very, very significant times. Now, he was that good, and the Bahamas definitely paid great attention to him and valued his entrance into the country by actually awarding him a spot to represent the Bahamas in the World Relays competition. I think that was in Japan, where he ran, the anchor leg for Bahamas in the 4x2. So he would have been the first Grenadian-born athlete, so that was history again, to run or represent a country at the World Relays. So that was a significant achievement. And he's a son of the soil, and also would have passed through the South City Rising Stars. Currently, he's here. We have done a few sessions here with me while he's here. And each time they return to on vacation, they link up with me, the club, and we conduct our training. And he too should be moving on to another a 4-year school, along with Gamali as well. I think Gamali has signed to school in Arizona. So he too as well will be moving on to that next level with the hopes, that he can take it as far as possible. There's talent, and I believe he can make it far as well.
No holds bar, Lee. Do you think it's very unfortunate that when we have young talents such as Rico and others, that it's unfortunate that due to the system, due to the process, due to whatever are the factors, the local factors in Grenada, that they have to turn their back on Grenada and, represent another country? Do you think it's rather unfortunate?
Definitely, it's rather unfortunate. It's unfortunate to the athletes, and to an extent, it's unfortunate to the country, even to the administration too. Right? Because here's what. If you have an athlete who is potentially world class and becomes a world champion, we had the first-hand opportunity to care and nurture the athlete. But because we don't have the proper measures, structures in place, and show them the sort of love and care which they require, and we have to lose or pass upon that opportunity as a result of maybe not being structured properly, not managing things properly, then we lose out on an opportunity that can bring back great returns to our country economically and many other spin-offs. As we know, sports, tourism, and marketing goes hand in hand. So when a country, we can always say, yes, he's a Grenadian, but it's far better to say, yes, he's a Grenadian and still represents Grenada. So it is unfortunate, and too, for athletes, because I know in most cases, athletes will love to represent their first pride, which is the country. That is everyone's dream. However, if the avenues are not being created, at the end of the day, you have to look at an environment or probably countries that can enhance your ability and your talents that can take you to the ultimate level, right? So I think this is an opportunity. When things like that happen, is an opportune time for the people in management to pull themselves together, get it act together, and realize now what an opportunity we basically is losing out on. Now, if such happens and the appropriate measures still is not put in place in terms of making a difference where that is concerned, it just tells me that the people who are who are responsible, there's a lack of genuine care and concern. That is just my 2 pence on this issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, your 2 pence might be worth, thousands of dollars, probably millions in the final analysis, because it's so unfortunate and sometimes frustrating for even those athletes who are representing Grenada. Now, I'm talking about currently, the things that they are going through, just to represent Grenada. I mean, I can tell you that from first-hand experience and from as recent as possible, the things that they are going through. It's so unfortunate. And if we don't get things right, I'm sorry that we wouldn't be ready for any action in the big league in time to come. We'll move on. But before we move on to another athlete, because I like how we kind of breaking it up, Lee, I want just to speak a bit about you mentioned the Rico. Well, Rico is cannot be considered now because he's representing the Bahamas now. Okay, so unfortunate. But the others you have called, the Felix brothers, for example, Gamali and Zimali, Nathaniel, and others. And then when you look at those from other clubs as well, do you think Grenada has what it takes to have now a cadre of junior athletes, whether it's 4x1, 4x4, and the individual, that can make a mark on the international scene within probably the next 5 years?
Very good question. And I firmly believe this can happen. And the reason why I believe it can happen is through experience. And as I said, before you can walk, you got to crip. So I've learned through experience, even when I have like very small goals, and I've seen it work through the system where I start with like just basic athletes doing the basic stuff. And you set goals strategically over a period of time, and he was able to achieve. Now, if myself and other coaches can move specific athletes, commit themselves over a period of time to a certain point by pure dedication and nurturing over a period of time. I think if we have a proper structure in place and a long-term plan, as I say, over a 5-year period, and we put these measures in place, we can certainly get towards a direction whereby we can have athletes performing at an elite level, be it individual events or be it relays or what the case is. Once we put these things in together, I believe we have the talent here in terms of the athletes, the talent is there, and we have the coaches with the right mindset that can make that transformation. I certainly in favor of this and certainly believe that can be achieved. But it boils down to one thing, is that what is the administration is doing about it, what the government, the stakeholders, business people, we don't really want to see that. Or I will ask the question, are they the ones who would just like to sit back and here's what, when we almost achieve the goal, you're stepping to, in a sense, to look like, okay, like so much been happening, right? Because where we really need the help in terms of harnessing a project like that is from the core. You talk about your grassroots programs, etc. Now, this came to something which I thought of recently. And in order for this to happen, why? I was thinking, at even the primary school level, I was trying to figure out what is the sense of this. We say, okay, we love sport and we want to see sports develop in the country and we want to have a structure like this. But here do we go? They have removed, I think, physical education in the curriculum at the primary school level, right? So no games or whatever, what the case is. So, and this point, really between age, like say 5 and 8, is a very critical point in terms of a window of opportunity for development of certain functional skills that can carry on through the adolescent stage and the adult stage, which will make it far easier for athletes to grasp the particular skills in terms of technique and stuff like that. So what do you tell them? If you remove it there, which is supposed to be the core, right? And then now you expect them to come back maybe as teenagers and perform and compete with the world. What do you think this is? This thing about athletics and sports is not no game thing. It's a serious thing. It's about business, and you have millions of people around the world trying to do the same thing. So what I'm saying is, if you do the serious about this, they have to go back to the foundation, they have to go back to the roots, and let's take it from there.
Yeah. As they would say, they're playing games with sports, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, they're playing games with sports. But but on a serious note as well, and I'm glad you made that point, because here it is come in about 1 year's time, so a few months, 12 months in the calendar year. The World Athletics Championship, for example, will be staged closer to home, and in this case, they're talking about Grenada, in that of Oregon in the United States. Most of our athletes, professional as well as college-based athletes, are within that, proximity in the United States and in the Caribbean. There's Zane McFarlane, for example, in Jamaica, those in, the high schools in Jamaica, etc., those at home, those who are in colleges. So it makes sense that the authorities, so be it the Grenada Athletic Association, should have a plan by now, knowing for a fact that the World Athletics Championship will be, at their doorstep, and an opportunity to ensure that Grenada is well represented in the context of individual athletes, male and female, and possibly relays, where there's always the belief that Grenada has a very strong chance of medaling in the relays. They always ask the question why it is Grenada within the last 3-4 years have not been able to medal in the World Athletics Championship won, and by extension, the World Championships and Olympic Games. Why? You participate in the World Athletics Championship, there is the almost a 90% chance of you. Once you finish, a 90% chance of you moving on to the World Championships by virtue of your finishing in the World Athletics Championship. I mean, the World Relay,
Yes.
sorry. Speaking to Coach Harvey Glantz of Kirani James, there was always the belief that, and that was from Coach Glantz, that Kirani wants to compete in the relays. He wants to. But it must not be an individual event. Okay?
Yes.
He must have the support. Okay?
Correct.
The support meaning the other athletes. There was always a chance of a Kirani James, for example, Rondell Bartholomew then, and a Braylon Taplin then, and the other athletes. Never really materialized because due to injury and other scheduling matters and all these sort of things. But there is always that possibility. So I am hopeful and I'm hoping that all the old talk and structures in place and committed and dedication from those in authority will come to fruition and something in place to ensure that our athletes going forward can compete at the highest level. What are your views regarding World Athletics Championship in 2022 in Oregon?
Well, it's a very broad spectrum there. Well, as it relates to Grenada, relay teams and probably competing at the World Athletics relay games, etc. Currently, I don't really see it happening. I mean, I'm not saying it cannot, but you have to look at actually what is currently going on. Because, for instance, they recently competed at NACA games. But we do understand the struggles that's going on with the pandemic, maybe vaccination and so on and so forth. But I think that would have been an opportune time where Grenada had an opportunity to showcase most of its athletes at the under 18 level and under 23 level. I only noted that only 2 athletes were sent to the meet, and it more or less hindered Grenada the opportunity to score higher in terms of the medal count. There are definitely athletes within that age range who were quite capable of earning medals to increase our life. So I always believe now, I don't know what may be the reason, but if the smaller goals are difficult to fulfill, now the bigger ones will be a lot harder, because now with the bigger ones, they may have certain requirements that has to be made, probably in terms of time or, and in order for that to happen, you have to make sure you have the structure in place so athletes are doing what they have to do, they eat properly, they get enough sleep, proper management, supervision, to get up to that level. So if it doesn't start in the small rim of things, it's highly unlikely that in the bigger rim or scope of things that it is going to happen. So in my views, I would say it's a 50-50 chance that, things like that may work out. Yeah.
All right. So I was just looking at some of the comments there from Mike was talking about the possibility of Grenada getting more medals at the recently completed NACA Championships in San Jose in Costa Rica. And also adding that no reason why Grenada cannot have a male 4x4, even in the mixed relays. And he suggested the Gamali, Meleni, that's Amanda, Kirani, also probably Ada, Hazard, for example, that's Ali, quite a few names, that possibilities, but again, it's up to the authorities. They are the ones who make the decision. They seem to be in control. But let's move on to, we talked a lot about the new sensation. Her name is Cheffonia. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Cheffonia Houston?
Correct. Cheffonia
Houston. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm just letting the viewers and listeners know that in the commentary that they will hear shortly, they may hear Houston, but I think the correct is Houston. Let me give them a taste of what we really want to speak about, and then we'll come back and speak about Cheffonia.
We have in Trailblazers, that's Alian Gadari. In lane 2, in lane 3, we have Codine Phillip of MVP. Cheffonia Houston of SCRS in lane 4. In lane 5, Kelvisha Joseph of Trailblazers and Amaya Lewis of Bolt.
Yeah. And I can see past Cheffonia Houston here in lane. Looks like the gun didn't go off there. So Cheffonia decided that she's not going to go with the blocks. She's going to move it out. And one of the things about watching her train on afternoons in Tantine, she's very serious. So she looks good.
Athletics is not a joking thing. It's a lot of repetition.
And they're off. Who's going to make the early running? On the outside in lane 5, it's Cheffonia Houston already gone past Alian Gidhari. Trailing in the back is Kadeen on the inside in lane 3, but there goes Cheffonia Houston going down the back stretch, running away with this one, looking good, pumping, trying to get a good time this time, while the others are pedestrian in the back, towards the back, and there goes Cheffonia. She's approaching the 200-meter mark now, and she's running. I think she's running against the clock here. She's not in competition with the field, running away. Her bags are packed. She's on the turn, getting closer to 150, and you can't even see the other athletes in the frame. And here she goes on the turn, coming off slingshot towards now, and here comes Kadeen trying to close the gap, but no one's going to be catching her. It's Cheffonia Houston all the way, running away with this one, pumping hard, eyes focused towards the finish line, and she's going to win this one comfortably and running away. A good time. Would she get under 1 minute? Yes, she does. I'm sure she's ran a great time. Let's see what the time will be. And jogging towards the finish line now, Kadeen Phillip of MVP and Gedhari of Trailblazers. So let's see. I think it's a great time by Cheffonia Houston of SCRS. She's gone well under a minute, and it's a great time. 57.86. And I was saying that to you earlier. A great improvement by Cheffonia.
Yeah. Cheffonia Houston.
Cheffonia Houston.
From the crowd downstairs. This is a good run in the 400-meter dash for the under 17 girls. Yeah. Cheffonia Houston of SCRS in a time of 57.86. Kadeen Phillip of MVP 1 minute 4.5 seconds. And Kelvisha Joseph of Trailblazers in a time of 104.9. Alian Gedari.
So I called it. I told you from her training and what I've seen she's been putting in, she would go in a good time, and it's way.
Okay, folks. So you heard it there. It's and I said it's not it's not Houston, but Houston. So just remember that you'll be hearing the name more and more, and no doubt Lee is back with us and will probably give us a little more on her. Lee, she was one who has been. She's only 13, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's only 13. I think she will be 14 this year, if I'm not mistaken. But all of her accomplishments, especially that from the Whitsuntide Games, to be exact. This was actually from the Whitsuntide Games in May, and just running basically on her own and clocking a time of under 57.86, I think was the clock saying, and at 13 without any serious competition and a 57, that is amazing. Lee, what can you tell our viewers and listeners about this new sensation?
Right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But before I move forward, I would like to big up Tyrone, that's the accounts manager at Nagico, and Celine Baptiste out in New York. They're very helpful in terms of the club. You know, they know what they did, and we don't say we're very grateful for them. Right. Even Neil Wells, you know, big up yourself, and Nikita as well, who assists. Yeah, so
and I just want to add that. So you did said, I remember you mentioned Mike Batiste, but I'm also want to give some thanks and shout out to Neil Wells for keeping me updated on that. You know, I'm not actually in Grenada, but Neil has been very instrumental in assisting me with a lot of information regarding your club, you know, and some of the athletes. Also, even though I'm not sure if he's affiliated, but I think Roger Augustine, you know, is very supportive of track and field in Grenada. Very, very supportive. And while you're on that, I want to say thanks to him as well, Roger Augustine. Yeah.
Yes. Great. Yeah. So on to Cheffonia. Now, Cheffonia, when I started with her at the age of 8, I noticed something unique about her. Her ability to run for relatively long and decent speed. I said decent speed, not the best speed, but she had a mixture of both. So right away, I know people of that nature should be very good 400 and 800 meter runners. So I started looking at her. Even at the primary school level, at the national games, the most she would be was probably a standby for relay. So she wasn't best coming into the track and field business from primary school. However, she has that wet determination, you know, to strive and be the best she can possibly be. And that is a very, very good attitude you like from an athlete. You know, it's to say to move them and get them to the highest possible level. So I recall the very first time she did that 400 meter at a more competitive level, she did 73 seconds. And then I said, okay, I saw some limitations. I decided to address it. You know, general body weakness, endurance, technique, and stuff was very off. And the next year she came and she moved from 73 to 69. Then the next couple of meets she got to 67. Then she moved to 65. And then now we brought her to the national games they had in the stadium at that point in time, where she was the only primary school person to represent and run with the bigger girls. And she came in second with a time of 63.8. Right? So we saw that good progression. So the next year I decided to turn it up a notch. And you know, I worked strategically. I saw certain areas. I said, what? We'll see how we could shift you, right, in certain direction. Now, she went on, I think, that year, the next year, she went to represent Grenada at the age group games in El Salvador. She didn't have the best performance overall because it's different events, and then, you know, inexperience, you know, timid, fright, confidence, you know, would have been, you know, a factor. But she came back and she was like, so, you know, that gave me the motivation to work harder. And she keeps striving, so that's next thing we worked, she opened up the season with 63. They didn't have much events because of, I think, wasn't that year, I think it was industrial action. So when she competed, we did a few meets. She did 63, then we get to maybe 61, and she did that 60 points something. That was one of my projections to get her to 59 that year, but we didn't have enough meets, so we didn't get to it. So this year now we worked, and I realized now, yes, as a coach, you have to sit down and analyze your students too. So I realized now she had a little problem with the finish, and I need to boost up the endurance and whatnot. So I decided to drop her into the 8, and I knew she could always do a 8. So we did the 8, and she had a remarkable time, a time of 2:21. Now, mind you, the time when she ran 2:21, that last recently knockout completed game, if she had went and represented Grenada, she would have gotten the gold medal based on times, because the winning time was 2:21 something, thereabout, right? And she ran that with no competition. But I only did the 8 because I knew she can do it. I was thinking characters. Although she's too young for the character age, but I'm thinking I can explore that. So I did this, and then we got the result, and I shifted her back down into the 4. And the 800 was used as a base for the 4. And she got her previous best was 59, and at that meet at the Whitsunday Games, we decided going at it, and she got that 57 something. Now our projections for the 400 meter is actually was 56 for this year, but the season came to a premature end, so we were unable to attain such goal. At the moment, we steadily working, we take it down one notch, and we basically is hopeful for next season. But a very good talent, and she attends the Anglican High School. She's a top student there as well. She been averaging 90 plus and topping the whole of the class, so she's not just good at the track, but she's very studious as well. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an all-around student. So, but as a coach, tell us, what are the real prospects of young Cheffonia? At the age of 13 now, there isn't possibility. Well, we don't know for now, and probably the last 2 years haven't, had her at intercall and things like that. So, and then with limited competitions, it may be frustrating for her as an athlete because, except for probably Whitsuntide games and the mini meets, there isn't real competition for her, But as a coach, what are you really seeing in Cheffonia that we can really look forward to? Probably, if all goes well, in probably the next, year or two.
Well, definitely next year she'll be a very good prospect because we're moving into the under 17 level. Although she'll be competing against girls older than her, but she will be a very good prospect for in terms of regional meets. That will be the character games in the 800 meter and the 400 meter. So definitely we looking at this possibilities. Now our aims and stuff, we put our head together, and trust me, we aim very, 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 very far. So even if we fall short, we still achieve something very, very, very great. And as I can tell you, she's very motivated. All during the quarantine, she's been doing her work. It's something that is a burning desire that she has, and there's a burning desire I have too. And I think she takes a lot of part in terms of how I do things and my courage, my resilience to succeed, make it. And sometimes she'll sit back, she'll be like, "Oh, coach, I see and understand the struggles, and I will make it big one day, to go there, represent the country, the club, and everyone who is behind me, with the hope at the end of the day that she can give back to her coach, her club, and the people that is responsible for our development. So as I can tell you, that is one of the hopes we have within the immediate that is in 1 year. But I can also tell you that she will be running times that can have her qualify for like Youth Olympics, there is Youth World Championships. Definitely those are some of the things we scope in, and with the help of the Almighty Father up there, who we always pray to, I can see there's no stopping us. There will be obstacles, there will be challenges, but our goals, our aims are very high, and we're working diligently towards it. And I can say our struggles is some of the things that is responsible for some of the success which we have here. Because when you're in the calm waters, there's no really motivation, there's no challenge. But once true strength and character is tested when the rough waters is above them or beyond them, and you're able to maneuver your way through out this. And I think these testing times, the pandemic, even what I may go through personally, she may go through personally, but we sit down and we reason out. We put it together, we iron it out, and it works out for the best folks. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so candid, for accepting the invitation to be on the program, to talk about the club, and for highlighting some of those athletes. And I say some because I'm certain there are more, and I'm hoping, it's my hope, it's my wish that you will really get, and I'm saying that because I believe you have the people around you who I think are serious about development, okay? The Mike Batiste and others, that are serious about development. and serious about the athletes' development, I should say, in particular, the athletes' development, the interests of the athletes. And certainly, if they are, they will ensure that the club is structured in such a way that it can, enable that sort of development. And I want to thank you, Lee, for sticking with it, sticking with the program, sticking with the athletes, and you're seeing what is happening in the final analysis with these athletes. Despite the challenges, despite the struggles, despite the obstacles and the challenges, you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to thank all those who are around, the Neil Wells and all those who have been given the support. And it's my hope that when you put your structures in place, that everyone can come together and ensure the success, the viability, and ultimately the accomplishments of the athletes, the objectives, meeting all the objectives of the athletes and the club. Any final word from you, Lee?
Yes. I also like to take this time to big up my athletes. I work part-time with her as well. Jamara Patterson. She's a very good hopeful in the 400 meter. Even Zane McPhillan, who's out there in Jamaica, very, very good sprinter as well. I think he can play a little injury, but next year I think he should be back in full swing. So all the other athletes who pass through the Snow City Rising Stars and all our fans, our supporters, athletes in general, all the sporting enthusiasts, we want to say, thank you for the support, which we had throughout the year. I even have people like Kenny Horsford, very good high jumper, in the police force, and doing his thing, give him a little shout out. Even this guy, Darren Jackson, young puck, he's doing very good in the musical form. Now, a lot of people will know that he was one of the members of the South City Rising Star as well. We have people like Glenn Hines, aka Roach, was one of the first guy who basically put us on the map to locally and did some stuff out in Trinidad as well. Joshua McIntyre, just to name a few, the Darren Sharp, there's a lot can be mentioned, a few others like Princess Whiteman and stuff like that, there's Alia McDonald too again up in Grenville side. So I I can't mention everyone, but they know who they are. Yeah, let y'all know that y'all in terms of your track carrier and stuff, we'll be putting our best foot forward to ensure that goes on, because we know that sports, I like to take this moment to encourage the young ones not to give up on the dream, right? Things may be going. I say they will talk about the pandemic and another crisis. Now, I've used Cheffonia as an example. If she had gave up during the corona, she would not have acquired such performance today. So the look at what we do today, despite the challenge, can create a better tomorrow, right? The world has been in greater crisis than that in the past. Now, back in 1920, as I always say, they had the Spanish flu, which killed 100 million people. Yeah, at that point in time, you had like the Great Depression, you had the World War. At that point in time, people would have said, well, the world would have finished. But here's what, the world continued, and people learned to make the way in between. In between, they had the Olympic Games, they had championships. So it doesn't mean because bad things is happening around that your life had to pause, or you just had to give up, or just say, well done. So, you don't beat up, you don't bother. So what's going to happen? Those who are prepared, when the opportunity presents itself, those are the ones who will be reaping the benefits for it. So you don't want to live your life in regret and say, I could have done this, and I choose not to, because you figure everything is chaotic in the world. We need to pull ourselves together and move forward. As you say, forward ever, backward never. No room for softness.
Yes. What a way, I should say, what a way to end that program there, Lee. I want to thank you once again for your acceptance to be on the program, candid conversation with you. And, something I've been hoping to do with other coaches and officials in Grenada, but, some have accepted, some have said they will wait until, and, sometimes I ask myself whether or not it's all about themselves or about who they say they represent. Sometimes just to get into the whole arena of I'm in charge, and I'm this and I'm that, and less about who they say they want to represent, who they say they want to be a voice for. We know sports administration in Grenada is basically voluntary. Well, you know that. Yes. So then, if you're willing to take on the job, you know what it comes with. So if not, then move out of the way and let others who are determined to do the job to do it. But you can't go in there and then while you're in there saying, hey, I'm doing this for free. Well, you knew that it would be free, okay? You knew it is a voluntary thing, okay? Basically, our athletes in Grenada are amateurs, okay? Are hoping to be professionals, right? So, I sometimes, the most I can just say is that we'll continue to pray that we'll get it right one of these days. Rudy and the same, Grenada will get there one day. Well, we'll get there one day when we have the people who really want to make a change, there. But thank you very much. Ali. And I'm hoping that some other time you'll be back on so that we can continue a discussion on other things. But I want to thank you for your commitment, your dedication, despite whatever it is, you're there to support track, to support the athletes and to encourage them. I think it was a stimulating discussion with you. You brought a lot into the fore, and I thought you were candid enough. You spoke, your mind out, and I think if I could just get some of the comments. Bascom Lee sounds to be very humble. Oh, this is Mona. Okay, Mona. Yeah, I know. Richard Mona. The same. I think Richard is originally from the Caranage, and he's saying, thank you very much. And Lee, I know you have been around track and field for a while, especially the guys at the GBSS. You would have seen a lot of them come in and out, perform, all these sort of things. So I know you're speaking from the heart, and you mean it. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your contribution as well to track and field in Grenada. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant day.
Okay, thank you. Folks, that was Lee Cuffie. He is the coach of the Rising City Stars. That is a track club in Grenada. It's very new to be that, but speaking to Lee, you will realize that it's more than new. The South City Rising Stars is when you listen to him and hear what he has to say about the athletes, you realize it has accomplished quite a lot over that period of time of its existence. And I'm very happy to know that he has, some folks around him who are willing to ensure the success of the club. He did mention a couple names, and I wanted to say thanks to both Mike Batiste and Neil Wells for providing the information. And Neil, thanks for the information regarding young Houston, and I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get in touch with her. Well, I wanted to speak to the coach first, and ensure that we get some information on that. So South City Rising Stars, I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate all those who are involved in it. Thank you very much, folks, for being with us. It's a shortened program, no doubt, because we had a little technical problem getting Lee on. But, I'm talking about the video. But I thought he was very effective. We had the videos. We had videos, I should say, supporting videos. We had, photos. And I think what was most important was the information he provided, as well as you, the viewers, who were commenting, Mike and Richard, that's Mona, and Rudian. Thank you again, Neil. And obviously, you have Compton. I think Donaldson Compton is from Carrick, who I get that impression from previous comments he had posted. And Zane McFarlane, one of those athletes, he was also commented as well. Thank you very much for being part of our program. Well, I'm still in Minneapolis, folks, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I should be doing the program live again in New York. Hopefully, still on deployment, still on service. So I'm hoping to. Thank you once again, and do remember to join me on Thursday for another of our Talk Sports program. Continue to support sports. By the way, the Spice Boys, should be playing later on. They play in Qatar. That's Saturday evening, Saturday night, and then on Tuesday they'll be up against Panama in the final group stage game. That game, though, against Qatar is in Houston, Texas, but the game against Panama, the final in the group stage game, will be played in Florida, in Orlando, Emporia Stadium in Orlando on Tuesday night. Folks, thanks once again for joining me. I'm Michael Bascom, your host. I'm wishing you a pleasant weekend and look forward to you on Thursday. Thank you once again. And do remember, whatever you do, just remember you do it with some level of moderation. Thank you.